Every night, without ceremony or announcement, the human mind enters a hidden world that has fascinated philosophers, scientists, poets, and physicians for thousands of years, and yet even today, in an age of satellites and supercomputers, dreams remain one of the most intimate and mysterious frontiers of science. As you lie down and the weight of the day gently dissolves, the brain does not power down like a machine switched off, but instead shifts into an intricate nocturnal performance, a symphony of electrical impulses and silent chemistry unfolding behind closed eyelids. And in this quiet theater the images begin, sometimes faint and fleeting like mist over water, sometimes vivid and astonishingly detailed, carrying you across landscapes that feel both familiar and impossibly strange. Modern neuroscience tells us that dreaming occurs most vividly during REM sleep, when the brain's activity resembles wakefulness while the body rests in protective stillness, muscles softened, breathing rhythmic, the outside world fading into distance. Yet inside the skull entire universes bloom without light or sound from the physical world. Scientists studying dream analysis have long wondered why the brain constructs these immersive experiences at all, why it weaves memories, emotions, fears, and fragments of imagination into moving narratives that dissolve by morning, and what purpose this nightly cinema might serve in the architecture of the mind. Early researchers believed dreams were meaningless noise, mere byproducts of neural firing, while others proposed they were coded messages from the unconscious, reflections of suppressed thoughts or unresolved emotions, and over time careful laboratory studies began to reveal patterns, showing that dreams often draw from recent experiences, blending them with older memories in ways that seem random on the surface but may follow subtle emotional logic. Brain imaging has shown that during REM sleep, regions involved in emotion and memory become highly active, while the rational centers responsible for critical thinking grow quieter, which may explain why dream narratives can feel so real even when they defy physical laws, why we rarely question their impossibility while immersed within them. Dream analysis today sits at the crossroads of neuroscience, psychology, and cognitive science, seeking not mystical symbolism but measurable insight into how the sleeping brain organizes experience, processes emotion, and strengthens memory networks. Some researchers suggest that dreaming acts as a form of overnight therapy, allowing the mind to revisit intense experiences in a safe internal environment, gently reducing emotional charge while preserving informational content, as though the brain is carefully editing the day's events into long-term storage. Others explore the theory that dreams simulate potential challenges, rehearsing social interactions or dangers in order to refine our responses without physical risk, a kind of biological virtual reality shaped by evolution. Yet despite decades of study, no single explanation fully captures the phenomenon, and perhaps that is part of their quiet beauty, that dreams resist simple categorization and remain layered, subtle, and deeply personal. Across cultures and centuries, humans have tried to interpret their dreams, searching for meaning in recurring symbols, in falling sensations, in flying across impossible skies, in conversations with people long gone. And while modern science approaches these experiences with careful skepticism, it does not dismiss their importance. For even if dreams are not prophetic messages, they reveal something intimate about the architecture of memory and emotion. Studies show that people deprived of REM sleep often experience irritability and difficulty concentrating, suggesting that dreaming plays a restorative role in mental balance. And when researchers gently wake volunteers during REM phases, subjects frequently report rich narratives that feel as though they have been unfolding for hours, even if only minutes have passed, reminding us that time inside dreams flows differently, unbound by clocks or gravity. Perhaps what makes dreams so captivating is not only their imagery but the profound solitude in which they occur, for no one else can step directly into the landscapes your mind creates. No instrument can record the precise texture of your internal sky, and yet, through careful study, scientists can trace the electrical signatures that accompany those imagined worlds, mapping patterns of activation that hint at their structure. In sleep laboratories, under dim red lights and the quiet hum of monitoring equipment, researchers watch brain waves ripple across screens, each oscillation representing millions of neurons communicating in synchrony. And in those patterns they glimpse the hidden choreography of dreaming, a reminder that even in stillness the brain is astonishingly alive. As this documentary unfolds, we will gently explore the science behind dream analysis, moving through history, biology, psychology, and modern research, uncovering how dreams form, why they feel so real, why they fade so quickly upon waking, and what they may reveal about consciousness itself. And as you listen, perhaps you may begin to notice your own nightly journeys with new curiosity, understanding that behind every dream lies not magic, but a living, breathing organ, performing one of its most intricate dances, quietly, faithfully, every single night. Long before the first dream image flickers into existence, the brain begins a gradual and beautifully coordinated transition, shifting from the bright alertness of waking life into the layered architecture of sleep, a process so familiar that we rarely pause to consider its complexity. And yet within this descent lies the careful preparation for everything that follows in the dream world. As evening settles and artificial lights dim, the body's internal clock, guided by circadian rhythms, synchronized to Earth's rotation, signals that it is time to slow, and deep within the brain a small structure known as the suprachiasmatic nucleus adjusts hormonal signals, allowing melatonin to rise gently in the bloodstream, creating that subtle heaviness behind the eyes, that quiet invitation to rest. Sleep does not arrive all at once, but unfolds in stages, each with its own signature pattern of brain waves, beginning with the light drifting phase known as stage 1, where thoughts loosen, and external sounds soften, and fleeting images sometimes appear like scattered fragments of unfinished stories, then moving into stage 2, where brain activity forms rhythmic bursts called sleep spindles, delicate pulses that researchers believe help shield the mind from outside disturbances while beginning the work of memory consolidation. As the night deepens, the brain descends into slow-wave sleep, often called deep sleep, where large, rolling brain waves sweep across the cortex like tides, across a quiet shoreline, and during this stage the body restores itself, repairing tissues, strengthening immune responses, and conserving energy, while consciousness fades to its most minimal state. Yet even in this profound stillness, the mind is preparing for the vivid return of activity that will come later, because sleep is not a static condition but a repeating cycle, moving rhythmically between non-REM and REM phases approximately every 90 minutes, like a silent pendulum swinging through darkness. When REM sleep finally emerges, it does so with remarkable contrast, for the brain's electrical patterns begin to resemble wakefulness once again, rapid low-amplitude waves dancing across neural networks, while the eyes move quickly beneath closed lids, tracing unseen images, and at the same time the body enters a state of temporary muscle paralysis known as atonia, a protective mechanism that prevents us from physically acting out our dreams, ensuring that the elaborate stories unfolding internally remain safely contained within the nervous system. Scientists studying this transition have observed that certain neurotransmitters, such as acetylcholine, increase dramatically during REM sleep, stimulating cortical regions involved in perception and emotion, while chemicals associated with focused reasoning, including norepinephrine and serotonin, decrease, creating a neurochemical environment where imagination flourishes and logical constraint softens, which may explain why dream narratives often feel fluid and surreal, unbound by the rigid rules of waking physics. The preparation for dreaming, therefore, is not accidental but deeply orchestrated, involving shifts in electrical oscillations, hormonal levels, and chemical balances that together create the precise conditions for immersive internal experience. Researchers using electroencephalography have mapped these transitions in exquisite detail, revealing how the sleeping brain cycles predictably through patterns that repeat night after night, and yet within this predictable architecture lies endless variation. For no two dreams are ever quite the same, even though the biological foundation remains constant. It is as if the brain constructs a stable stage, complete with lighting and acoustics, and then improvises a new performance each time REM sleep arrives, drawing upon stored memories, emotional residues, and fragments of imagination gathered during the day. Intriguingly, the length of REM periods increases as the night progresses, meaning that the most elaborate and story-like dreams often occur in the early morning hours, when the body has already passed through several cycles of deep restoration, and this gradual elongation suggests that dreaming may serve evolving functions across the night, first stabilizing memory traces, then weaving them into broader networks of meaning. Even infants, whose waking experiences are limited compared to adults, spend a far greater proportion of sleep in REM, leading scientists to hypothesize that dreaming may play a crucial role in brain development, helping to refine neural connections during periods of rapid growth. In sleep laboratories around the world, volunteers rest quietly beneath monitoring sensors while researchers observe the subtle dance of brain waves on glowing screens, waiting for the unmistakable shift into REM that signals the onset of vivid dreaming. And when participants are gently awakened during this phase, their reports consistently confirm that something complex and immersive had been unfolding within. Understanding this architecture of sleep allows dream analysis to rest on firm biological ground, reminding us that dreams are not random accidents but products of a structured and repeating physiological cycle, a nightly rhythm embedded deeply within human evolution. As you continue listening, perhaps you can imagine this architecture within your own mind, the silent cycles moving faithfully beneath awareness, preparing each evening for the return of that private inner cinema. And in recognizing the structure, there is a quiet comfort, knowing that even in rest the brain follows patterns refined over millions of years, guiding you steadily toward the landscapes that await behind closed eyes. Before a dream becomes a story, before it forms a landscape or a conversation or a sudden impossible flight across a silent sky, it begins quietly within the deep reservoirs of memory and emotion stored throughout the brain. For dreams are not created from nothing, but assembled from fragments of lived experience, carefully reshaped and recombined in ways that often feel mysterious yet follow subtle internal logic. Throughout the day, as you move through conversations, solve small problems, notice passing faces, or experience moments of joy or tension, your brain encodes these events in distributed neural networks, storing details across regions responsible for sight, sound, language, movement, and feeling. And during sleep, especially in the cycling hours between non-REM and REM stages, these networks do not remain idle but begin to communicate in new patterns, replaying certain traces, strengthening some connections while allowing others to fade gently into the background. Neuroscientists have observed that the hippocampus, a structure deeply involved in forming new memories, becomes highly active during sleep, coordinating with the cortex to transfer temporary impressions into more stable long-term storage. And it is during this transfer that elements of experience may blend in unexpected ways, as if the mind were testing different combinations to see which patterns hold meaning. Emotional centers such as the amygdala also become particularly active during REM sleep, amplifying feelings even when logical reasoning regions remain comparatively quiet, which may explain why dreams often carry intense emotional tones, whether of wonder, fear, nostalgia, or longing, sometimes far stronger than the events themselves would justify in waking life. This interplay between memory and emotion creates the raw materials of dreaming, weaving together yesterday's conversations with scenes from childhood, merging familiar streets with imagined architecture, allowing faces from different eras to share the same quiet room. Researchers conducting careful sleep studies have found that people frequently dream about concerns that occupied them during the day, yet rarely in literal form, instead appearing as symbolic or altered versions of those experiences, suggesting that the brain may be abstracting emotional themes rather than replaying events exactly as they occurred. For example, a stressful meeting may reappear not as a conference table but as a steep hill being climbed, a metaphor constructed without conscious intention, guided by emotional resonance rather than narrative accuracy. This process hints at an adaptive function, where dreaming allows the mind to process feelings in a softened environment, detaching the sharpest edges while preserving informational value, as though the sleeping brain is gently filing away emotional intensity so that waking life can proceed with greater balance. Laboratory experiments have shown that individuals who sleep after emotionally challenging experiences often report reduced distress the following day compared to those who remain awake, reinforcing the idea that sleep and dreaming may serve as overnight regulators of emotional tone. At the same time, not all memories enter dreams equally, as mundane details frequently fade while emotionally charged or novel experiences are more likely to resurface. highlighting the selective nature of this nocturnal processing. Brain imaging studies reveal coordinated reactivation of memory circuits during REM, almost as if the mind is rehearsing certain experiences in a low-risk virtual simulation, allowing emotional responses to be recalibrated without real-world consequences. Yet the blending of memories in dreams is rarely orderly, because while the hippocampus replays fragments, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for strict logical sequencing, remains less active, leading to narratives that flow freely across time and space, unconstrained by chronological consistency. This loosened structure gives dreams their surreal quality, but beneath the surface lies a coherent biological mechanism, one that integrates stored information into broader cognitive maps. Some scientists propose that dreaming helps extract general rules from specific experiences, strengthening patterns of learning while discarding unnecessary detail, a process that may contribute to creativity and insight, as novel associations formed during sleep occasionally resurface in waking life as sudden realizations. Indeed, throughout history many thinkers have reported gaining inspiration from dreams, suggesting that the recombination of memory fragments can yield genuinely new ideas. Still, dream analysis within modern science approaches such claims with careful neutrality, focusing not on mystical interpretation but on measurable processes within neural networks. What emerges from this research is a portrait of dreaming as a dynamic conversation between memory systems and emotional circuits, conducted in the quiet darkness of sleep, where the mind sifts, sorts, blends, and stabilizes the day's experiences. As you rest each night, unaware of the intricate exchanges occurring within your brain, countless neurons synchronize their activity in delicate patterns, strengthening pathways that matter while softening those that do not. And from this hidden labor arise the images and stories that feel so vivid when they appear, understanding that dreams are constructed from the very substance of your lived experience can transform the way you perceive them, not as random illusions, but as reflections of ongoing neural work, subtle echoes of what you have seen, felt, feared, and hoped. And as this exploration continues, you may begin to sense that every dream, no matter how strange, carries within it traces of memory gently reshaped by emotion, assembled each night into a quiet narrative that belongs uniquely to you. There are moments within dreams when the experience feels so completely convincing that doubt never arises, when the texture of a wall beneath your fingertips, the sound of distant footsteps, or the vastness of a shifting sky appears indistinguishable from waking life. And only upon opening your eyes does the realization gently settle that none of it existed outside the mind. This powerful sense of immersion has long intrigued scientists, because it suggests that the brain possesses the remarkable ability to generate entire realities internally, complete with sensory depth and emotional weight, without any input from the external world. During REM sleep, when most vivid dreaming occurs, neuroimaging studies show heightened activity in the visual cortex, the region responsible for processing sight, even though the eyes are closed and no light reaches the retina, indicating that the brain is activating its own perceptual circuits from within, effectively projecting images onto the inner canvas of consciousness. At the same time, areas involved in spatial awareness and movement simulation become engaged, allowing you to navigate dream environments, walk through unfamiliar landscapes, or even soar above cities with a sense of physical presence, as though your body were truly in motion. This internal activation mirrors many of the same neural pathways used during waking perception, which may explain why the distinction between dream and reality often feels non-existent. While the dream is unfolding, yet there is also a crucial difference. For the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, a region associated with critical thinking, self-reflection, and logical evaluation, shows reduced activity during REM sleep, meaning that the part of the brain responsible for questioning inconsistencies is quieter, allowing improbable events to pass without scrutiny. This reduction in executive oversight creates a unique cognitive state where imagination operates freely, unchallenged by the rational filters that dominate waking thought, and as a result, the mind can accept extraordinary scenarios as entirely plausible. The emotional intensity of dreams further enhances their realism, because the amygdala and related limbic structures are highly active during REM, amplifying feelings of fear, joy, curiosity, or wonder. And emotion itself is a powerful marker of reality within the brain, often serving as a signal that an experience matters deeply when a dream carries strong emotional charge. The brain encodes it with vividness, reinforcing the sensation that it is genuinely happening. Researchers have also discovered that the brain's default mode network, a system involved in constructing the sense of self and internal narrative, remains active during dreaming, helping to maintain a coherent perspective from which events are experienced, even if the storyline shifts unpredictably. This preserved sense of identity contributes to immersion as you move through dream scenarios, not as a distant observer but as an active participant. Intriguingly, studies of lucid dreaming, a state in which individuals become aware that they are dreaming while still within the dream, reveal partial reactivation of frontal brain regions associated with metacognition, suggesting that awareness and immersion can coexist when certain neural circuits resume communication. In ordinary dreams, however, this reflective awareness remains muted, and the immersive simulation continues. Uninterrupted, scientists often compare dreaming to advanced virtual reality generated entirely by the brain's internal networks, where sensory cortices create images, motor regions simulate movement, and emotional centers provide intensity, all coordinated in the absence of external stimuli. The body's muscle atonia during REM ensures that while the brain simulates running, speaking, or reaching, the physical muscles remain still, preventing injury and preserving the boundary between internal narrative and external action. This carefully balanced system demonstrates how evolution has shaped dreaming into a contained yet immersive experience, allowing complex mental rehearsal without real-world consequence. From a cognitive perspective, the realism of dreams highlights the constructive nature of perception itself, because even in waking life the brain interprets sensory data to build an internal model of reality, and dreaming simply reveals that this modeling process can occur independently of outside input. By studying how the brain generates convincing dream worlds, researchers gain insight into consciousness more broadly, uncovering how neural activity translates into subjective experience. For those listening quietly in the stillness of night, there is a gentle reassurance in understanding that the vividness of dreams is not evidence of mystery beyond comprehension, but a testament to the brain's extraordinary capacity for simulation. Each time you enter REM sleep, intricate networks synchronize to create landscapes, characters, and sensations that feel authentic because they engage the same systems that guide waking perception. And as this exploration continues, the realism of dreams may begin to feel less like an enigma and more like a window into the creative architecture of the mind, where immersion arises naturally from the coordinated dance of neurons, crafting worlds as convincing as the one you inhabit when your eyes are open. Long before laboratories, brain scans, or electrical recordings illuminated the biology of sleep, human beings looked to their dreams with a mixture of awe and reverence, believing that within those silent nighttime visions lay messages from gods, warnings of danger, or glimpses of fate yet to unfold. And across ancient civilizations, dreams were recorded carefully, interpreted symbolically, and sometimes used to guide decisions that shaped entire communities. In the temples of ancient Egypt, dream interpreters were regarded as skilled mediators between the human and divine, preserving written accounts on papyrus that categorized dream symbols into favorable and unfavorable omens, reflecting a worldview in which sleep opened a gateway beyond ordinary perception. In ancient Greece, philosophers such as Aristotle approached dreams with early rational curiosity, suggesting that they arose not from supernatural forces but from the workings of the mind itself, an idea remarkably aligned with modern thought, though still limited by the scientific tools of his era. At the same time, healing temples dedicated to Asclepius invited individuals to sleep within sacred spaces in hopes that dreams would reveal cures or guidance, illustrating how closely intertwined spirituality and early medicine once were. As centuries passed and scientific inquiry expanded, interpretations of dreams shifted gradually from prophecy towards psychology, and in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the study of dream analysis entered a new and influential phase through the work of Sigmund Freud, who proposed that dreams were expressions of unconscious desires and conflicts, disguised in symbolic imagery to protect the dreamer from psychological distress. Freud's landmark book, The interpretation of dreams argued that beneath the surface narrative of a dream lay hidden meanings shaped by suppressed wishes, and although many of his specific theories have been debated or revised, his central claim that dreams reflect internal psychological processes profoundly shaped modern discourse. Shortly thereafter, Carl Jung expanded the conversation by suggesting that dreams not only expressed personal unconscious material but also drew from a collective unconscious shared across humanity, populated by archetypal symbols that appear in myths and stories throughout cultures, adding depth and universality to dream interpretation, while contemporary neuroscience does not support the existence of mystical archetypal realms. Jung's emphasis on recurring symbolic patterns anticipated later cognitive research showing that certain themes, such as falling, being chased, or flying, appear frequently across diverse populations, possibly reflecting shared human experiences or evolutionary concerns. As the 20th century progressed and technology advanced, dream analysis gradually transitioned from purely interpretive frameworks to experimental investigation, particularly after the discovery of REM sleep in the 1950s by researchers who observed rapid eye movements associated with vivid dreaming, marking a turning point in the scientific understanding of sleep. This discovery allowed scientists to correlate subjective dream reports with measurable physiological states, grounding dream research in observable data rather than speculation. Throughout the latter half of the century, laboratories around the world began systematically waking participants during REM phases to collect immediate dream accounts, analyzing recurring patterns, emotional tones, and narrative structures. And although symbolic interpretations remained culturally influential, scientific emphasis shifted toward understanding dreams as cognitive and emotional processes emerging from brain activity. Today, dream analysis occupies a balanced position between history and biology, acknowledging the rich tapestry of cultural interpretations while focusing primarily on neural mechanisms, memory, consolidation, emotional regulation, and the simulation of possible scenarios. Modern researchers employ functional magnetic resonance imaging and electroencephalography to trace the precise regions activated during dreaming, building a detailed map of the sleeping brain that would have seemed unimaginable to ancient scholars. Yet despite these technological advances, the fascination remains unchanged, because dreams continue to feel deeply meaningful to those who experience them, even when science frames them as byproducts of neural integration. Perhaps what endures across millennia is not a single interpretation, but the recognition that dreams matter, that they reveal something about the inner workings of the mind, whether understood as divine messages, symbolic expressions, or biological simulations. As you listen quietly, reflecting on the long arc of dream analysis from temple chambers to modern laboratories, there is a sense of continuity linking past and present, a reminder that curiosity about the sleeping mind is as old as civilization itself. And while contemporary science may no longer seek prophecy within dreams, it continues to search for understanding, exploring how nightly visions illuminate memory, emotion, and consciousness, carrying forward an ancient question into the calm precision of modern inquiry, where the mystery remains gentle, inviting, and ever unfolding beneath the quiet rhythm of sleep. Across continents and cultures, across languages and lifetimes, certain dream experiences appear again and again with remarkable consistency, as though the sleeping mind draws from a shared palette of themes that resonate deeply within human experience. And while the details may shift from person to person, the underlying patterns often feel strangely familiar. One of the most frequently reported dreams involves falling, that sudden sensation of losing balance and descending through empty space, sometimes accompanied by a jolt that awakens the body abruptly, and researchers suggest that such dreams may be linked to subtle muscle relaxations occurring as the brain transitions into sleep, combined with the mind's attempt to interpret these internal signals into narrative form. Another common theme is being chased, a scenario filled with urgency and tension, where the dreamer flees from an undefined pursuer through shifting landscapes, and scientific perspectives propose that these dreams may reflect heightened activation of threat detection systems within the amygdala, perhaps echoing evolutionary mechanisms designed to rehearse responses to danger in a safe simulated environment. Similarly widespread are dreams of being unprepared for an important event, such as arriving late for an examination or discovering one has forgotten essential knowledge. Experiences that often arise during periods of stress in waking life, suggesting that the dreaming brain may amplify concerns related to performance, responsibility, or social evaluation. Then there are dreams of flying, which can carry feelings of exhilaration and freedom, sometimes unfolding with effortless grace above familiar cities or vast natural landscapes. And while no consensus explanation exists, some neuroscientists speculate that activation in motor and spatial navigation regions during REM sleep may contribute to these sensations, blending memories of movement with imaginative extension beyond physical limits. Losing teeth, another surprisingly common theme, has been interpreted in countless symbolic ways throughout history, yet contemporary research leans toward understanding it as an expression of vulnerability or bodily awareness, possibly influenced by subtle sensory input from the jaw during sleep combined with emotional associations. Even dreams of encountering deceased loved ones appear frequently, often bringing comfort or unresolved emotion, and scientists approach these experiences as reflections of memory networks reactivating during REM, where emotionally significant relationships are revisited within the safe theater of the mind. What makes these recurring themes so compelling is not necessarily that they carry universal symbolic codes, but that they arise from shared human concerns, gravity, safety, belonging, competence, attachment, all woven into the architecture of the brain. Large-scale surveys of dream reports reveal that emotional tone plays a central role, with negative emotions slightly more common than positive ones, perhaps indicating that dreaming prioritizes processing of challenging experiences in order to refine adaptive responses. Yet not all dreams are intense or dramatic, as many consist of ordinary activities slightly altered, walking through a familiar neighborhood that seems subtly rearranged, speaking with someone whose face shifts gently into another's, reflecting the brain's tendency to recombine stored memories into new configurations. Researchers emphasize that while thematic patterns exist, personal context shapes each dream uniquely, meaning that two individuals dreaming of falling may be processing entirely different emotional landscapes. The scientific approach to common dream themes therefore resists rigid interpretation, instead focusing on cognitive mechanisms that give rise to recurring motifs. The brain, during REM sleep, is highly active in regions related to emotion, imagery, and memory integration, yet less active in logical oversight, creating fertile ground for scenarios that are emotionally charged but narratively fluid. In this environment, the mind may rehearse social interactions, confront fears symbolically, or simply experiment with creative associations, all without the constraints of waking reality. As listeners drift through this quiet exploration, there is comfort in knowing that recurring dreams are not signs of mystery beyond comprehension, but reflections of the brain's ongoing work, integrating experience and emotion in ways that occasionally surface as familiar nighttime stories. The universality of certain themes reminds us that beneath individual differences lies a shared biological foundation, a nervous system shaped by evolution to anticipate, adapt, and remember. And as we continue deeper into the science of dream analysis, these common motifs serve not as coded messages from hidden realms, but as gentle indicators of the mind's attempt to understand itself, to process what matters, and to simulate possibilities within the safe and silent world behind closed eyes. While many dreams drift softly through the night like passing clouds, others arrive with startling intensity, carrying shadows, urgency, and emotions so vivid that they seem to echo long after waking. And these darker nocturnal experiences, known as nightmares, offer scientists a powerful window into how the sleeping brain processes fear. During REM sleep, when emotional circuits are highly active, the amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure deeply involved in detecting and responding to threat, shows heightened activity, sometimes even greater than during waking exposure to fearful stimuli, suggesting that nightmares are not random disturbances but exaggerated expressions of neural systems designed to protect us. In evolutionary terms, the ability to simulate danger within a safe internal environment may have provided survival advantages, allowing early humans to rehearse escape strategies. recognize threatening patterns, or refine emotional responses without encountering real-world harm. Yet in modern life, where threats are often social or psychological rather than physical, these same neural circuits can amplify stressors into vivid dream scenarios, transforming anxieties about relationships, work, or uncertainty into symbolic chases, looming disasters, or overwhelming confrontations. Researchers studying nightmare frequency have found strong correlations with periods of heightened stress, trauma exposure, and emotional upheaval, indicating that the dreaming brain may intensify unresolved feelings rather than suppress them. In individuals who have experienced traumatic events, recurring nightmares sometimes replay aspects of the trauma with distressing clarity, a phenomenon particularly observed in post-traumatic stress disorder, where the boundaries between memory and dream blur as the brain struggles to integrate overwhelming experiences. Neuroimaging studies suggest that during such episodes, communication between emotional centers and regulatory regions of the prefrontal cortex may be altered, reducing the brain's ability to dampen fear responses even within sleep. However, not all nightmares are linked to trauma, as many arise spontaneously in otherwise healthy individuals, reflecting the normal variability of REM activity and emotional processing. Intriguingly, the body remains paralyzed during most REM phases, preventing physical enactment of dream content, yet the autonomic nervous system may still respond, increasing heart rate, altering breathing patterns, and releasing stress hormones, meaning that nightmares can produce measurable physiological effects despite occurring entirely within the mind. Some researchers propose that nightmares represent a malfunction in the emotional regulation function of dreaming, where instead of gradually reducing the intensity of a troubling memory, the brain repeatedly activates it without achieving resolution. Therapeutic approaches such as imagery rehearsal therapy have demonstrated that consciously rewriting the narrative of a recurring nightmare while awake can reduce its frequency, suggesting that cognitive intervention can influence nocturnal processing. This interplay between waking intention and sleeping brain activity reveals the dynamic flexibility of neural networks, even in states traditionally considered passive. For most people, occasional nightmares are part of the natural spectrum of dreaming, often diminishing once the underlying stressor subsides, and in this sense they may serve as indicators rather than enemies, subtle signals that the emotional systems of the brain are working intensely to interpret and adapt. The scientific view does not frame nightmares as punishments or prophetic warnings, but as amplified simulations shaped by heightened limbic activation and reduced rational oversight, a temporary imbalance within the complex orchestration of sleep. As listeners reflect quietly, perhaps recalling moments of waking suddenly from a vivid dream with a racing heart, there may be reassurance in understanding that even these unsettling experiences arise from the same biological architecture that supports learning, memory, and emotional growth. The brain, in its tireless effort to process life's uncertainties, sometimes produces imagery that feels overwhelming, yet beneath the intensity lies an adaptive system attempting to recalibrate. And as we continue this gentle exploration of dream analysis, nightmares stand not as dark anomalies but as part of the broader spectrum of nocturnal cognition, reminding us that fear itself is woven into the evolutionary fabric of the mind, and that even in the deepest hours of night, the brain remains engaged in its quiet work of protection and adaptation. On rare and remarkable nights, something unusual happens within the sleeping mind. The dream continues, the landscape remains vivid and immersive, yet a quiet realization emerges from within, a gentle awareness that this experience is, in fact, a dream, and in that moment the boundary between unconscious immersion and conscious reflection begins to soften, creating a state known as lucid dreaming. Unlike ordinary dreams, where events unfold without question, lucid dreams contain a spark of metacognition, the ability to think about one's own thinking, allowing the dreamer to recognize the constructed nature of the environment while still participating in it. Scientists studying this phenomenon have found that lucid dreaming typically occurs during REM sleep, the same stage associated with vivid imagery and heightened emotional processing, yet brain imaging reveals subtle differences, particularly a partial reactivation of frontal regions involved in self-awareness and executive Control, suggesting that the rational oversight usually quiet during REM briefly returns. This hybrid state, blending features of waking cognition with the immersive simulation of dreaming, offers a rare opportunity to observe consciousness in transition, as though the mind is gently turning inward to witness its own creations. Laboratory experiments have confirmed lucid dreaming by asking participants to signal their awareness through predetermined eye movement patterns while asleep, measurable beneath closed eyelids, demonstrating that conscious intention can sometimes penetrate the dreaming state. For many individuals, lucid dreams occur spontaneously, often triggered by noticing an inconsistency within the dream world, such as reading text that changes upon second glance or observing physical laws bending in subtle ways, prompting the realization that ordinary reality does not behave in this manner. Once awareness arises, some dreamers report the ability to influence the narrative, altering settings, summoning objects, or choosing to explore particular environments, while others simply observe with calm curiosity, allowing the dream to unfold naturally. Researchers approach these accounts with careful neutrality, focusing not on extraordinary claims but on the measurable neural mechanisms that permit such experiences. Studies suggest that lucid dreaming may involve increased gamma wave activity in certain cortical areas, indicating heightened integration of distributed neural networks. Though findings remain under active investigation, beyond scientific curiosity, lucid dreaming has practical implications, as some therapists explore its potential for addressing recurring nightmares, teaching individuals to recognize and reshape distressing dream scenarios from within, thereby reducing emotional intensity. Yet even outside therapeutic contexts, lucid dreaming fascinates scientists because it challenges simple definitions of consciousness, revealing that awareness is not confined strictly to waking life but can emerge within the internally generated world of sleep. This blurring of boundaries invites broader questions about how the brain constructs subjective reality and whether the distinction between dreaming and waking perception is one of degree rather than kind. While most dreams remain non-lucid, the possibility of awareness during sleep underscores the dynamic flexibility of the brain's architecture, capable of shifting between states with remarkable subtlety. As listeners drift through this exploration, there may be quiet wonder in imagining the mind observing itself, a consciousness gently illuminated within its own creation, like a lantern carried through a landscape it has built. Lucid dreaming does not require mystical interpretation to be extraordinary, for even within the framework of neuroscience it represents a rare convergence of neural patterns, a moment when self-reflection and immersive simulation coexist. And as we continue unfolding the science of dream analysis, lucid dreaming stands as a reminder that the sleeping brain is not a passive organ but a complex and adaptive system, capable of surprising transitions that reveal new dimensions of awareness, all unfolding silently in the stillness of night, behind closed eyes, within the endless architecture of the mind. One of the most curious aspects of dreaming is not the vividness of the experience itself, but the fleeting nature of memory once we awaken. For although some dreams remain etched clearly in our minds, the vast majority dissolve almost instantly, leaving only a hazy impression or a sense of familiarity that fades within minutes. Scientists investigating this phenomenon have discovered that the very brain mechanisms that allow dreams to unfold so vividly may also contribute to their rapid disappearance, because during REM sleep, when dreams are most immersive, the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for forming long-term declarative memories, is relatively less active, meaning that while the mind can simulate entire environments with sensory and emotional richness, it is less capable of consolidating these experiences into stable memory traces. Additionally, neurotransmitter patterns during REM, such as reduced norepinephrine, play a role in dampening the brain's encoding ability, effectively prioritizing the ongoing immersive experience over long-term storage. The result is that dreams often exist as intense and coherent narratives in the moment, yet upon waking, the mechanisms needed to preserve them for conscious recall are weak, like writing on fogged glass that quickly evaporates. Researchers have explored techniques to improve dream recall, such as immediately recording dreams upon awakening, which can enhance memory retention by reactivating the relevant neural circuits, but even then, details often blur, and attempts to capture a dream are limited by the intrinsic structure of memory during sleep. Psychological studies suggest that emotional salience significantly influences which dreams are remembered, meaning that emotionally charged dreams, whether joyful, fearful, or surprising, are more likely to leave lasting impressions than neutral or repetitive ones, because the limbic system, highly active during REM, tags these experiences as significant, increasing the likelihood of partial recall. Paradoxically, even the emotional intensity that makes a dream unforgettable in the moment can fade quickly, as the waking brain reasserts logical context, filtering dream narratives into familiar patterns and often rationalizing or distorting their content. This is why many mornings we remember only fragments. A fleeting image of a face, a sensation of falling, a fleeting conversation, while the intricate story that unfolded during the night remains elusive. Cognitive scientists also propose that forgetting dreams serves an adaptive function, preventing the overloading of memory with transient or simulated experiences, allowing the brain to prioritize real-world events and useful information. In this sense, the ephemeral nature of dreams is not a flaw but a feature, a way for the mind to explore internal simulations without cluttering memory with every nightly adventure. Neuroimaging studies reveal that while the hippocampus is active during memory consolidation in sleep, its connectivity with cortical regions is altered in ways that favor selective encoding, often leaving dream experiences weakly represented unless immediately reinforced. Interestingly, individuals who wake during or immediately after REM sleep tend to recall dreams more clearly, suggesting that timing plays a crucial role in retention, and that the transition from internal immersion to external awareness is a delicate moment in which memory either captures fragments or lets them slip away. For many, this fleetingness contributes to the ethereal and mysterious quality of dreaming, the sense that nightly journeys are both deeply personal and tantalizingly inaccessible, leaving the waking mind with curiosity and wonder about what transpired while eyes were closed. Understanding why dreams fade does not diminish their value but highlights the interplay between consciousness, memory, and perception, reminding us that the mind operates on multiple levels, some accessible only in the quiet of sleep. As you reflect on this, there is comfort in knowing that even when dreams vanish upon waking, their fleeting presence has already shaped neural pathways, processed emotions, and rehearsed experiences, quietly contributing to the brain's ongoing work behind closed eyes. And in recognizing the natural impermanence of dreams, we may listen more attentively, appreciating the subtle messages and experiences that the sleeping mind offers, even if only for a brief, dissolving moment. Within the quiet darkness of night, as the conscious mind retreats and the brain engages its intricate cycles of sleep, a remarkable phenomenon emerges. Dreams often become a wellspring of creativity, providing insights, solutions, and imaginative leaps that elude waking thought. And scientists have long sought to understand how these nocturnal experiences contribute to innovation. During REM sleep, when the mind is free from the strictures of logic and linear reasoning, neural networks that store memories and knowledge interact in unusual combinations, connecting distant ideas, forming unexpected associations, and recombining fragments of experience in ways that can yield new perspectives. And this recombinatory process may explain why people frequently awaken with sudden solutions to problems that had seemed intractable before sleep. Studies have documented countless instances where artists, writers, and inventors attribute breakthroughs to dreams, from Mary Shelley conceiving the opening vision of Frankenstein's creature to scientists reporting the sudden realization of chemical formulas or engineering designs, suggesting that the mind's nighttime activity can bypass cognitive blocks imposed by waking logic. Neuroscientific research supports this by showing that during REM sleep, the prefrontal cortex, responsible for deliberate reasoning, is relatively quiet, while the associative and emotional centers remain highly active, creating a mental landscape in which imagination is unconstrained, emotional resonance is amplified, and novel combinations of ideas emerge naturally. Even dreams that appear nonsensical or surreal may harbor seeds of creative insight, as the brain explores unconventional patterns without immediate judgment, later allowing fragments to be recognized, refined, and applied in waking thought. Psychologists studying problem-solving across sleep cycles have observed that subjects who sleep between learning a challenging task and attempting to solve it often perform better than those who remain awake, implying that dreaming and sleep consolidation facilitate cognitive restructuring, strengthening weak associations while forming new pathways. Moreover, the emotional intensity and immersive nature of dreams may enhance motivation and memorability, making novel ideas that arise within sleep feel personally significant and worth pursuing upon waking. In addition to fostering solutions, dreams frequently inspire artistic expression, providing unique imagery, metaphors, and narrative structures that artists can translate into music, literature, visual arts, and film, drawing upon the mind's ability to simulate experiences unconstrained by reality. Some experimental approaches even encourage dream incubation, in which individuals consciously focus on a problem or creative question before sleep, subtly guiding the mind's nocturnal exploration toward relevant patterns, while still allowing the unconscious to generate insights beyond deliberate control. Yet while dreams can be a source of inspiration, the mind's creative work during sleep is not entirely predictable, and many insights emerge unexpectedly, as if the brain quietly sifts through possibilities, discarding unhelpful patterns while preserving promising associations. This unpredictability is part of what makes dream-inspired creativity so fascinating, offering a balance between structured knowledge and imaginative freedom. Neuroscientists also note that the integration of memory, emotion, and sensory imagery in dreams contributes to originality, allowing ideas to be perceived in novel contexts, and sometimes producing insights that feel both surprising and inevitable. As listeners reflect on the subtle interplay between sleep and creative thought, there is a gentle reassurance in realizing that even when consciousness is at rest, the brain is engaged in active problem-solving, artistic exploration, and the generation of ideas, quietly rehearsing, recombining, and innovating. And so, every night, as eyes close and the world outside dims, the sleeping mind embarks upon journeys that may seed discoveries, spark artistic visions, and illuminate solutions, reminding us that the quiet work of dreaming is not only restorative but profoundly inventive, and that within the silent theater of the brain, imagination never truly sleeps. As night deepens and the body rests in quiet stillness, the mind continues its intricate work, delicately weaving together memory, sensation, and emotion, and one of the most profound functions of dreams appears to be emotional healing, a subtle and largely unconscious process that allows the brain to process feelings, resolve internal conflicts, and restore psychological balance. During REM sleep, limbic structures such as the amygdala and hippocampus are highly active, reactivating emotional memories and integrating them with existing knowledge and past experiences, while the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for judgment and critical thinking, remains less active, allowing intense feelings to be experienced fully without the interference of rational evaluation, which may provide a safe internal space for emotional rehearsal and adaptation. Scientists propose that this nocturnal processing helps reduce the intensity of negative emotions, gradually recalibrating the brain's response to stressful or threatening experiences so that waking life feels less overwhelming. And studies have found that individuals who experience regular REM sleep after emotionally challenging events demonstrate improved mood regulation, lower stress levels, and better problem solving the following day. Dreams often replay aspects of personal conflicts, unresolved tensions, or interpersonal challenges, but in transformed or symbolic form, allowing the mind to experiment with solutions, imagine alternative outcomes, or rehearse adaptive responses in a risk-free environment, which may help individuals approach similar situations in waking life with greater resilience. Even dreams that appear chaotic or surreal can carry emotional significance, as the brain selectively amplifies feelings over literal narrative coherence, highlighting the centrality of emotional processing over strict logical sequencing. Research in sleep laboratories has shown that people awakened during REM sleep often recall dreams containing emotional content directly related to daytime experiences, supporting the idea that the mind is continuously integrating and re-evaluating emotionally salient events. Some psychologists describe this as an internal therapy session, a nightly opportunity for the brain to revisit the day's challenges, soften emotional intensity, and consolidate adaptive strategies without conscious effort. The adaptive function of dreams in emotional regulation may also extend to fear and anxiety, as simulated exposure to threatening or uncomfortable scenarios during dreams can reduce physiological and psychological reactivity over time, much like a rehearsal in a safe, internal space. Moreover, the interweaving of positive experiences and pleasant imagery alongside negative ones may provide emotional counterbalance, enhancing overall mood and contributing to the restorative quality of sleep. Individuals who are deprived of REM sleep or experience disrupted dream cycles often report heightened irritability, difficulty managing stress, and reduced emotional resilience, suggesting that the nightly rehearsal provided by dreams plays a crucial role in maintaining mental health. Beyond individual experiences, cultural and historical accounts of dreams frequently emphasize emotional insight, reflection, and guidance, highlighting the enduring human awareness of dreams' capacity to influence feelings, relationships, and decision-making. Understanding that dreams are not merely random hallucinations but structured opportunities for emotional integration can transform our relationship to sleep, encouraging curiosity, acceptance, and gentle reflection. As you listen in the quiet darkness, there is comfort in knowing that each fleeting image, each symbolic encounter, and each emotional surge within dreams contributes to the ongoing work of emotional healing, helping the mind untangle complex feelings, reduce stress, and restore balance. And while the mechanisms operate largely outside conscious awareness, the subtle impact is profound, reminding us that the silent theater of sleep is also a sanctuary of the psyche, where the mind nurtures, integrates, and gently repairs itself every single night. Throughout history, dreams have captivated humans across every corner of the globe, inspiring countless interpretations, rituals, and storytelling traditions. And yet, despite the diversity of cultures, striking similarities in dream content emerge, suggesting that while the mind is shaped by experience and environment, it also draws upon shared patterns of perception, emotion, and concern. In ancient Mesopotamia, dreams were carefully recorded on clay tablets and interpreted as omens or messages from gods, while in Native American traditions, dreams often served as guidance from spiritual forces or ancestors, carrying lessons about personal behavior, community responsibilities, and connection to the natural world. In Japan, historical practices such as yumeiji emphasized paying attention to the subtle symbolism of dreams, with some believing that they reflected inner states or offered glimpses of future events. And in India, ancient Ayurvedic texts explored dreams as indicators of health, emotional balance, and spiritual development, linking nighttime visions to the harmony of mind, body, and spirit. Across African cultures, dreams often provided insight into social and moral dilemmas, serving as a medium through which elders, healers, or diviners could interpret the unseen dimensions of everyday life. While in modern Western psychology, dream analysis evolved through the work of thinkers like Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung, focusing on unconscious desires, archetypes, and internal conflict, highlighting the personal and symbolic meaning embedded in dream narratives. Despite these varied frameworks, researchers studying contemporary dream reports find recurring motifs worldwide, such as falling, being chased, flying, or interacting with loved ones, indicating that certain experiences and emotions are universally processed during sleep, likely reflecting shared human physiology and cognitive architecture. At the same time, cultural context shapes interpretation, affecting how dreams are understood, valued, and remembered, whether as mystical guidance, moral instruction, creative inspiration, or psychological insight. Anthropologists note that even within a single society, individuals' dreams are influenced by personal history, beliefs, and social roles, creating a dynamic interplay between universal neurocognitive processes and culturally specific frameworks. Neuroscientific research supports this duality, showing that while the basic mechanisms of REM sleep, memory consolidation, and emotional processing are consistent across humans, the content of dreams is filtered through each person's lived experiences, expectations, and knowledge, resulting in narratives that are simultaneously familiar in structure and uniquely personal in detail. In this light, dreams emerge as a fascinating intersection of biology and culture, where innate neural processes generate images and stories, yet the meaning we assign to them is mediated by historical, social, and individual context. This perspective helps explain why certain archetypal themes, such as fear, pursuit, loss, or transcendence, appear across distant societies while the symbols, settings, and characters differ markedly. It also underscores the adaptive flexibility of dreaming, allowing the brain to process universal challenges like threat detection, emotional regulation, and problem-solving while embedding them within culturally relevant frames. As listeners reflect on these patterns, there is a gentle reminder that dreaming is both a personal journey and a shared human experience, linking our inner worlds across time and place, revealing the mind's remarkable capacity to generate stories that resonate with universal human concerns while remaining distinctively our own. And in the quiet stillness of night, as eyes close and awareness drifts inward, the dreams unfolding are at once deeply familiar and entirely singular, shaped by shared physiology yet colored by the rich tapestry of culture, experience, and imagination, offering a window into the extraordinary universality and diversity of the human mind. Although sleep is a natural and essential part of life, many individuals experience disruptions that alter both its restorative quality and the content of dreams, and understanding these effects provides insight into the delicate interplay between physiology, cognition, and emotion during sleep. Conditions such as insomnia, sleep apnea, narcolepsy, and restless leg syndrome can interfere with the normal architecture of sleep, reducing the duration or intensity of REM cycles, fragmenting the continuity of dreams, and sometimes preventing the emotional processing that typically occurs during healthy slumber. For instance, in obstructive sleep apnea, repeated pauses in breathing awaken the sleeper multiple times per night, often without full awareness, and this fragmentation can shorten REM periods, limiting the opportunity for vivid dreaming and diminishing the integration of memories and emotions that occurs in uninterrupted cycles. Individuals with narcolepsy, on the other hand, may enter REM sleep almost immediately upon falling asleep, experiencing intensely vivid dreams that blur the boundary between waking and dreaming, sometimes accompanied by hypnagogic hallucinations, perceptual experiences occurring at sleep onset, and cataplexy, a sudden muscle weakness triggered by strong emotions, highlighting the complex connection between emotional processing, dream generation, and motor control. Insomnia, characterized by difficulty initiating or maintaining sleep, can lead to fewer total hours of REM, resulting in dreams that are either truncated or poorly recalled, and the associated stress and hyperarousal may increase the likelihood of nightmares, creating a feedback loop where worry about sleep itself influences dream content. Even more subtle sleep disturbances, such as irregular schedules, exposure to light at night, or inconsistent circadian rhythms, can shift the timing and distribution of REM cycles, thereby altering dream patterns, emotional tone, and recall. Research also shows that certain medications, including antidepressants and stimulants, can suppress or modify REM sleep, changing both the frequency and intensity of dreaming, while withdrawal from these medications may produce a rebound effect, leading to unusually vivid or emotionally intense dreams. Individuals with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, frequently experience recurring nightmares, often highly detailed and emotionally charged, reflecting the impact of trauma on neural circuits responsible for emotional regulation, memory consolidation, and threat processing. These nightmares illustrate how sleep disorders or neurological conditions can amplify or distort the brain's natural processes, providing both discomfort and clues about underlying cognitive and emotional functioning. Despite these challenges, interventions such as cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, CBTI, continuous positive airway pressure, CPAP, for sleep apnea, and sleep hygiene strategies can restore more typical sleep architecture, improving not only physical health but also the quality, continuity, and emotional processing of dreams. Understanding the connection between sleep disorders and dreaming underscores that our nocturnal experiences are deeply entwined with biological health, emotional balance, and environmental factors. And disruptions in any of these domains ripple through the intricate system that produces dreams. For listeners, this knowledge invites a gentle mindfulness of sleep habits and awareness of the subtle ways in which daily life, stress, and health influence not only rest but the vivid inner world of dreams. And in reflecting on these patterns, there is reassurance in knowing that interventions exist to restore rhythm and balance, allowing the mind once again to engage fully in the nightly journey of dreaming, emotional integration, and cognitive restoration. For those who wish to explore the intricate world of dreams more consciously, maintaining a sleep journal or practicing dream tracking can transform fleeting nighttime experiences into lasting insights, allowing patterns, themes, and emotional undertones to emerge over time, and providing a bridge between unconscious exploration and conscious reflection. The practice begins simply. Upon waking, even before moving or speaking, the dreamer records whatever images, sensations, or narratives are remembered, capturing details such as colors, locations, characters, emotions, and the sequence of events, recognizing that even partial recollections can reveal meaningful patterns when revisited over days, weeks, or months. Researchers and psychologists have found that this immediate documentation enhances recall because the act of recording reactivates neural circuits involved in memory consolidation, strengthening connections that might otherwise fade within minutes of waking. Over time, a dream journal can reveal recurring motifs, emotional themes, or problem-solving patterns that provide insights into both psychological functioning and creative potential, as well as illuminate connections between waking experiences and nocturnal narratives. For example, repeated dreams about flying may coincide with feelings of freedom or escape in waking life, while recurring dreams of being unprepared may signal stress or anxiety related to work, relationships, or personal growth, offering reflective mirror for introspection. Some individuals also engage in dream incubation, using journals to set intentions before sleep, subtly guiding the mind toward exploring specific questions, challenges, or creative problems. A technique supported by studies showing that focused pre-sleep thoughts can influence dream content without forcing conscious control. Tracking dreams can also provide a unique window into emotional processing, allowing the dreamer to observe shifts in tone, intensity, or content over time, revealing how the mind integrates experiences, regulates feelings, and rehearses scenarios in a safe internal environment. From a scientific perspective, systematic dream recording contributes to the broader understanding of sleep and cognition, providing data on frequency, duration, emotional valence, and themes that can be analyzed individually or across populations, linking subjective experience with objective measures such as REM cycles, sleep quality, or physiological markers. Culturally, dream journals have been employed for centuries in various societies as tools for spiritual reflection, self-discovery, or divination, demonstrating the enduring human fascination with nocturnal visions and the desire to capture their wisdom. Even for casual observers, keeping a record fosters curiosity, attentiveness, and mindfulness, encouraging a gentle awareness of the mind's nighttime activity and reinforcing the importance of sleep as an active, dynamic process rather than a passive state. Over time, the journal may reveal creative inspirations, solutions to problems, or patterns in emotional life, allowing the dreamer to approach waking challenges with subtle guidance drawn from unconscious processing. Ultimately, the practice of dream tracking cultivates a quiet partnership between conscious and unconscious mind, honoring the ephemeral world of dreams while providing structure to observe, reflect, and learn. And as listeners consider adopting such practices, there is a gentle reassurance in knowing that even brief notes taken upon waking can illuminate the mind's nightly work, bridging the world of sleep with the conscious self, and transforming dreams from fleeting illusions into meaningful guides for understanding, creativity, and emotional insight. As dreams unfold, they often present vivid images and striking symbols, strange landscapes, unusual objects, or people acting in ways that feel charged with significance. And for centuries, humans have sought to interpret these symbols, asking whether they convey hidden meaning, guidance, or insight. Modern science, however, approaches these images with a different perspective, exploring how they emerge from memory, emotion, and neural processes rather than external messages or mystical codes. Symbols in dreams are rarely literal. A falling leaf, a locked door, or an unfamiliar animal does not always carry a universal meaning but instead reflects the mind's creative recombination of personal experiences, feelings, and associations. Neuroscientists studying REM sleep observe that the brain's visual and associative cortices are highly active during dreaming, generating imagery from stored memories, while the logical prefrontal regions remain subdued, allowing unusual juxtapositions to appear naturally, giving dreams their surreal or symbolic quality. For example, recurring dreams of being chased may not signal an actual threat but could represent ongoing stress or unresolved conflict, translated into narrative form by the brain's unconscious systems. Similarly, dreams of water, fire, or flight might arise from sensory experiences, cultural exposure, or emotional states rather than fixed symbolic codes. Researchers emphasize that these symbols are deeply personal. Their meaning depends on the dreamer's history, feelings, and context, creating a tapestry where memory, emotion, and imagination intersect. Cognitive scientists also note that dreams help integrate new experiences with existing knowledge, and symbols often serve as shorthand, condensing complex emotions, memories, or learning into a single, striking image. While historical approaches, from Freudian psychoanalysis to Jungian archetypes, sought to universalize dream symbols, contemporary neuroscience highlights the adaptive function of symbolism in dreams. It enables the brain to process, rehearse, and reorganize emotional and cognitive information efficiently. This process explains why some symbols feel profoundly meaningful, even if their significance is rooted more in personal memory and emotional resonance than in universal codes. For instance, a key in a dream may represent discovery or solution not because of an archetypal meaning but because the dreamer associates it with unlocking opportunity or resolving uncertainty. Similarly, spatial distortions or improbable interactions, like talking to an animal or walking through a floating city, reflect the mind's ability to combine memories, creativity, and emotion into compact, experiential narratives. By observing symbols in this light, dream analysis becomes less about assigning fixed meanings and more about exploring how personal experiences, fears, desires, and memories are synthesized into nocturnal stories. This approach encourages curiosity and reflection rather than rigid interpretation, acknowledging that the brain is both artist and archivist, weaving personal significance from the raw materials of life. As listeners contemplate the science of dream symbols, there is comfort in recognizing that the strangeness and beauty of these images emerge naturally from the mind's nightly work, a blend of memory, imagination, and emotional processing that produces experiences both familiar and extraordinary. Understanding dream symbols as reflections of internal processing transforms dreams into a window on consciousness, offering insight into how the brain organizes, interprets, and creatively represents the inner life while the body rests quietly in the stillness of night. Beyond personal insight and emotional processing, dreams have long played a surprising role in science and innovation, serving as a quiet incubator for ideas, solutions, and creative breakthroughs, often when the conscious mind struggles with conventional problem-solving. In REM sleep, the brain enters a state of heightened associative thinking, where memory, emotion, and imagination interact freely, unbound by logical constraints, allowing novel combinations of concepts to emerge that may not surface during waking deliberation. This nocturnal flexibility has provided a fertile ground for remarkable discoveries. Scientists and inventors across history have credited dreams with inspiration, from the structure of molecules to the design of tools and even narrative ideas in literature and art. For instance, the chemist Friedrich August Kekule famously reported that the circular structure of the benzene molecule came to him in a dream of a serpent seizing its own tail, illustrating how dreams can offer visual metaphors that crystallize complex ideas. Similarly, artists, writers, and engineers often recount waking from vivid dreams with detailed insights, sometimes entire frameworks or storylines that they could then develop consciously. Neuroscientific research explains this phenomenon through the brain's capacity to recombine previously stored information in novel ways. Neural networks consolidate memories and experiences, linking seemingly unrelated elements, which can lead to aha moments upon waking. Interestingly, dreams are especially conducive to problem-solving because the executive centers of the prefrontal cortex, responsible for critical judgment and self-censorship, are less active, allowing unusual or improbable ideas to surface without immediate dismissal. Emotional and motivational centers, however, remain active, amplifying the significance of ideas and ensuring that promising patterns capture attention. This unique interplay provides a safe internal laboratory in which the brain explores possibilities, tests outcomes, and simulates solutions without real-world consequences. Some contemporary researchers have explored deliberate dream incubation, where individuals consciously focus on a problem before sleep, intending to leverage nocturnal processing to generate creative solutions. Experiments demonstrate that this can increase the likelihood of relevant content appearing in dreams, although the brain retains autonomy, often producing insights in unexpected forms. Even dreams that seem surreal or nonsensical may contain fragments that, when examined upon waking, provide innovative directions or inspire reinterpretation. This connection between dreaming and innovation highlights the brain's remarkable ability to bridge unconscious processes with conscious thought, revealing that problem-solving is not confined to deliberate analysis but extends into the fluid and associative world of sleep. For listeners, this insight offers quiet inspiration. The mind continues to work, explore, and connect ideas even as the body rests, subtly preparing solutions and creative possibilities that awaken with renewed clarity. Dreams, then, are more than stories. They are active contributors to human ingenuity, demonstrating that the silent hours of night harbor a vast, untapped landscape of imagination, insight, and potential discovery. While dreams often appear fantastical and free-flowing, underlying them is a remarkable biological function: the consolidation of memory, a process through which the brain strengthens, reorganizes, and integrates experiences from waking life. During sleep, particularly REM stages associated with vivid dreaming, neural circuits involved in memory and learning become highly active, replaying patterns of thought, sensory experiences, and emotional responses, allowing the brain to reinforce important information while pruning unnecessary or redundant details. This nocturnal processing helps transform short-term memories into more durable long-term forms, preparing the mind to recall, adapt, and apply knowledge effectively upon waking. Studies show that both declarative memories, facts, events, and information, and procedural memories, such as motor skills or learned sequences, benefit from sleep-dependent consolidation. Dreams, in this context, appear to serve as a narrative or experiential overlay, integrating these memories into coherent or emotionally resonant scenarios. For instance, a musician practicing a new piece may dream of playing it in a vivid hall, while the emotional and sensory simulation reinforces motor pathways and cognitive understanding. Similarly, students or problem solvers often report dreaming about abstract concepts or challenges, reflecting the brain's ongoing attempt to encode, test, and refine newly acquired knowledge. Neuroscientists have observed that during REM sleep, activity in the hippocampus, a region crucial for forming new memories, is complemented by connections to cortical areas responsible for long-term storage. Dreams, particularly those rich in emotion or striking imagery, may emerge from this communication, translating raw memory patterns into narrative or symbolic form. Emotional content plays a key role, as emotionally salient memories are more likely to be reinforced and integrated, suggesting that the mind prioritizes experiences that carry personal significance, preparing both knowledge and emotional understanding for future challenges. Interestingly, dreams often mix past experiences with imagined scenarios, reflecting the brain's ability to recombine memories in creative ways. This blending supports adaptive problem-solving and insight, as familiar elements are tested in novel contexts. Even dreams that appear surreal or nonsensical contribute to this process by allowing the brain to explore possibilities unconstrained by logic or expectation, strengthening cognitive flexibility and resilience. Sleep deprivation or disruption of REM cycles, by contrast, can impair memory consolidation, reducing both the clarity and utility of dreams while diminishing learning efficiency and emotional regulation during waking hours. The subtlety of this nightly process highlights how the brain balances rest and activity, creating a dynamic environment in which memories are replayed, integrated, and enhanced. For listeners, understanding the role of dreams in memory consolidation offers reassurance that even fleeting, seemingly random experiences in the night serve a purposeful function, quietly supporting cognitive growth, skill acquisition, and emotional understanding. Dreams, in this light, become both a mirror and a workshop, reflecting the past, rehearsing the present, and preparing the mind for the future, all unfolding in the gentle continuity of sleep's restorative embrace. Beyond their roles in memory consolidation and creativity, dreams play a subtle yet profound role in shaping emotional intelligence, the capacity to perceive, understand, and regulate emotions in oneself and others. As the brain cycles through REM sleep, regions responsible for processing emotion, the amygdala, anterior cingulate cortex, and limbic system become highly active, while parts of the prefrontal cortex involved in judgment and critical thinking remain relatively subdued. This unique configuration allows the mind to explore emotional experiences fully, unfiltered by conscious logic, providing a safe environment in which feelings can be rehearsed, understood, and integrated. During dreams, individuals often encounter emotionally charged scenarios, conflict, joy, fear, or attachment, recreating relational dynamics from waking life or simulating entirely novel interactions. These nocturnal simulations offer practice in empathy, perspective-taking, and emotional regulation as the brain experiments with responses, evaluates consequences, and integrates lessons without real-world risk. Repeated engagement with these emotionally resonant dream narratives may enhance the ability to recognize subtle cues, anticipate reactions, and navigate complex social situations when awake, subtly reinforcing emotional intelligence over time. Research has shown that people who experience rich, emotionally vivid dreams often exhibit heightened emotional awareness and sensitivity in waking life. For instance, dreams that involve moral dilemmas, negotiations, or interpersonal challenges encourage the brain to consider multiple perspectives, fostering cognitive and affective flexibility. Even seemingly chaotic or surreal dreams contribute to this process by presenting unusual scenarios that require the brain to reconcile conflicting emotions, increasing resilience and adaptive thinking. Moreover, dreams provide an internal rehearsal space for coping with stress, loss, or unresolved conflicts. By replaying emotionally intense situations symbolically, the brain gradually reduces their disruptive intensity, supporting regulation and balance in waking life. Nightmares, while uncomfortable, can also contribute to emotional growth by confronting the mind with fear in a controlled environment, prompting reflection and teaching coping strategies. In this sense, dreams act as a natural laboratory for the development of self-awareness, empathy, and nuanced understanding of emotional landscapes. Culturally and historically, many traditions have recognized this emotional function, valuing dreams not only for insight or prophecy but as guides to inner life and social harmony. Modern neuroscience echoes these insights, framing dreams as an adaptive mechanism through which emotional intelligence is cultivated and maintained. For listeners, understanding this relationship can foster appreciation for the quiet work of dreams, revealing that nightly journeys through vivid, symbolic, or even challenging scenarios are not only natural but beneficial, gradually shaping the mind's capacity for empathy, reflection, and emotional balance. In essence, dreams are more than transient images or stories. They are dynamic exercises in emotional awareness, teaching the mind to navigate complex feelings, anticipate reactions, and develop a subtle understanding of oneself and others, all unfolding silently behind closed eyes during the restorative and imaginative hours of sleep. As we conclude this exploration of the science of dreams, it becomes clear that dreams are far more than ephemeral images or fleeting stories. They are active participants in learning, emotional processing, creativity, and self-understanding. The challenge, then, is to bridge the nocturnal world with waking life, allowing the insights, experiences, and emotional lessons encountered during sleep to inform reflection, decision-making, and personal growth. One of the most effective ways to accomplish this integration is through mindful reflection upon waking, taking a moment of stillness to recall, record, and contemplate the details of dreams, noting patterns, emotions, and recurring themes, even if only fragments persist. By engaging in this gentle practice, the brain reinforces memory, encourages introspection, and strengthens connections between unconscious insights and conscious understanding. Beyond journaling, applying lessons from dreams can be subtle yet powerful. Emotional awareness cultivated in dreams can guide interpersonal interactions, offering greater empathy, patience, and adaptability in social contexts. Creative ideas that arise in nocturnal simulations can inspire problem-solving, artistic endeavors, or professional innovation, while symbolic or emotionally charged experiences may reveal underlying concerns, desires, or unresolved tensions that benefit from conscious reflection. By observing these dream-derived insights without judgment, one cultivates a reflective habit that nurtures self-awareness, resilience, and emotional balance. Scientific research supports the notion that conscious engagement with dreams can enhance cognitive and emotional functions. Techniques such as dream incubation, setting intentions before sleep, can focus the mind on specific challenges or questions, subtly influencing the content of dreams and increasing the likelihood of relevant problem-solving or creative insights. Similarly, repeated observation of recurring dream themes can reveal patterns in thought, behavior, or emotion, providing a practical tool for personal development and psychological insight. Even dreams that initially seem random or nonsensical may, upon reflection, illuminate hidden associations, unresolved feelings, or innovative connections between ideas. Importantly, integrating dream insights does not require exhaustive analysis. It often benefits from a gentle, curious approach, allowing the mind to recognize recurring motifs, emotional undercurrents, or innovative sparks without forcing interpretation. Over time, this practice fosters an ongoing dialogue between the conscious and unconscious mind, creating a continuous loop of learning, reflection, and growth. Dreams, in this sense, become collaborators in daily life, offering guidance, inspiration, and perspective that enrich waking experience. Ultimately, the science of dreams reveals that sleep is not merely a passive state but a dynamic, active process in which memory, emotion, creativity, and self-awareness are continually cultivated. By observing, reflecting upon, and thoughtfully integrating these nocturnal experiences, we can transform dreams from fleeting phenomena into meaningful contributions to understanding ourselves, our emotions, and our creative potential. Each night's journey becomes a quiet opportunity to explore the mind, to process emotions, to rehearse challenges, and to uncover inspiration, allowing the lessons and insights of dreams to ripple gently into waking life, enriching the journey of personal growth, learning, and conscious engagement with the world.